You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show, brought to you by Bank of Africa. Strong as a group and close as a partner. And the season of giving promo is still on. All you need to do is to deposit or open an account with 150 Ghana cedis. You build up your funds and get rewarded at the end of every month until the end of the promo on the 31st of January 2017. Fantastic prizes to be won: TV sets, fridges, smartphones, laptops, among others. So don't miss out. That moment when you can download and stream your favorite action movie within seconds. Make that seamless video call with your friends without any buffering. Share awesome wedding pictures and videos among friends and family, among others. Everybody loves the internet for one thing or the other. And we are talking about the internet. We are talking about MTN 4G, which gives you a better internet experience. 4G is life. So go on, get yourself a 4G device today and experience the power of MTN's ultra-fast and stable 4G network, the first mobile 4G network in Ghana. MTN 4G, say hello to the future. Make it happen quick. Everything you always wanted of insurance is online. Buy, renew, and make your claims all in 3 easy steps. That's how quick it can get. Just log on to starassurance.com and follow the easy steps. Star E-Insurance, possible anywhere, anytime. ACAP Compost Fertilizer. If you are a farmer, a landscaper, or gardener, and you have been experiencing poor seasonal yields over the period, post-harvest losses due to the short shelf life of your produce, ACAP Compost Fertilizer is what you need. It's an organic fertilizer made from pure organic materials such as food and farm waste, decomposed naturally into humus. So contact any and all leading agro import dealers and distributors across the country for your ACAP Compost Fertilizer. White Temple Agencies Limited, they offer you the latest technologically advanced, trendy, and durable yet affordable stone-coated roofing tiles. Fair roof, that's a luxury you can afford. You can locate White Temple Agencies Limited on plot number 65 Derby Avenue on the Children's Hospital Road, adjacent NHIS Building Arena, or the sales office branch at the Old Weja Barrier, Accra West. Royal Lighting, they have everything you ever wanted in lighting. And you can find them at the Bachona off the Spinkters Road, previously Nick and Siloga Building, near Bachona Total. Royal Lighting Investment Limited, your house of quality lights and accessories. Now, I've got loads of your messages. I'm going to read some of them to share some of them with the rest of the world. But before we do that, let's go to hear, first of all, the concession by the president. And after the concession by the president, we hear Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, also the EC. Then we hear Nana Akufo-Addo. Let's take a listen to them. We'll be right back.
The results we're about to announce exclude 4 constituencies. We have Afram Plains North with a voter population of 40,312 voters. And the results are not ready because they voted only yesterday. For 3 constituencies, Upper West Achim with voters, 50,386 voters. Saola Tuna Kalba constituency with 45,625 voters. And Tamale Central with 83,947 voters. Those results are being contested, and so collation has not happened. For the 4 constituencies I mentioned, they have a total of 220,270 voters. However, we believe that the results of those 4 constituencies are immaterial to the final outcome of the presidential results. And so we will announce the results without those 4 constituencies. For the presidential elections, the total votes cast was 10,781,609. Out of those, we had rejected ballots of 166,248, which is 1.54%. We had total valid votes of 10,615,361. Our turnout was 68.62%. Now, for the candidates, Mr. Ivor Kobina Greenstreet of the CPP had 25,395 votes, being 0.24%. Mrs. Nana Konedu Ajiman Rawlings of the NDP had 16,878 votes, being 0.16%. Mr. John Dramani Mahama of the NDC had 4,713,277 votes, being 44.40%. Dr. Papa Kwesi of the PPP had 105,682 votes, being 1%. Mr. Nana Akufo-Addo of the New Patriotic Party had 5,716,026 votes, being 53.85%. Mr. Edward Mahama of the PNC had 22,214 votes, being 0.21%. And Mr. Jacob Osei-Yegwa, an independent candidate, had 15,889 votes, being 0.15%. On the basis of the foregoing figures, and by the power vested in me as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and the returning officer for the presidential election, it is my duty and my privilege to declare Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as the President-elect of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation greater and stronger.
All right, so first, that's the EC chairperson, Mrs. Charlotte Osei. Now, let's briefly look at the results. Briefly, let's look at the results. The performance of the candidates, including, curiously, and still very disturbing, that candidate rejected ballot. Yes.
Did it feature? It is still feature. I thought it was very minimal this time.
I don't think that is minimal. If you have rejected ballots of 166,248.
More than the other candidates.
What did you say? More than the other candidates?
Put together.
Right. Yeah. So let's start with you, John. What do you make of the performance? What didn't work for the NDC?
Well, I'll start. I was trying to do some computation just to aid me in the analysis, but as you've put a spot on me, I think I'll start. But just quickly, I listened to my big brother Abdul Malik, and you heard me say that no, I disagreed with him because I thought that in these elections, when it comes to very vociferous attacks, it was rather John Mahama who suffered it, and that's my opinion. And the adverse tells me, I mean, accusations and all that.
You don't have to do family. You have to do facts.
These are facts. These are facts. I mean, so I hold a contrary view. But what did not work? As I said, I was trying to do some calculations. Voter turnout was 64. This year's 60. Well, the voter population was about 15,712. Yeah. Last election, it was about 14,158. And so it meant that we had a vote increase of about 1,553,000. And so all I did was to look at what Nana Addo had in the last elections. He had 5,248,000. And I wanted to check on John Mahama's about a little higher than, I think, 5,574,000. Yes, so those were the results for the last election. Now this year, if you look at Nana's results, it's 5,716,026. Now, if you were to do an adjustment of the increase in voter population and look at this percentage, it meant that Nana Addo virtually did the same. in terms of percentage. He maintained his hold. But if you look at John Mahama's figures, it meant that John Mahama couldn't even get what he got last year. And so clearly, it would appear that Nana Addo succeeded in holding his base, but the NDC couldn't. And so my analysis and my conclusion is that Nana Addo is not taking votes from us. He's maintained his votes, but on our side, we couldn't get our people to come out and vote. That is my conclusion.
What's accounted for
based on I'm coming there.
Unless some of them were ghosts.
They couldn't have been ghosts.
Exactly.
They couldn't have. How could they when they voted biometrically in 2012?
I'm just joking.
I'm just answering. And it's clear, if you look at Volta region, the voter turnout, far, far lower than 2012. And I watched that on your screen.
Yeah, it's true.
Yesterday.
But where were they?
Exactly.
Apathy. If the person voted biometrically, the previous election, not manually, biometrically,
Maybe they didn't cross the border.
and did not come, that tells you that
apathy mean protest?
it could. It could. For instance, I give an example where in a community, and I was there, adjacent to my constituency, the constituents said they wouldn't go and vote for the MP because he hadn't visited them.
Sure.
And so, true to it, on election day, they decided that they won't go and vote for the MP. But invariably, what they were doing was that they weren't voting for the president as well. And so if you look at the trend, President Mahama has done fairly well than most of the candidates. Where you saw our candidates falling, if you compare their votes to that of President Mahama, it's clear that President Mahama enjoyed some amount of support.
In almost all the
when they went to
constituencies,
vote.
when you do a comparative analysis of the results, in 2012, where the president had a certain number of votes, this time around, you see that he went down a bit, and then where Nana Addo didn't get, he was making progress at almost
That
every
is why,
constituency.
you see, if you do that,
Nana Addo was progressing,
Yeah.
increasing, and adding up to his
Yeah, if
votes
you do that-
when the president was declining,
if you
almost
do that,
everywhere.
If you do that, you may get it wrong because you then be doing it on a nominal basis. And that's why I adjusted it with the voter increase. Because you need to do a realistic analysis of the figures. If, for instance, last year I had 40,000 and this year I have 42,000, it is true that I've gone up, but then you must match that up with the increase in population or the increase in voter population so that you adjust that. And that's what I was doing. And I concede that if you look at the NDC, our votes dropped. And I'm saying that it is clear and obvious from the turnout in our strongholds that some people did not go to vote.
Yes, so
And that
quickly,
is a
we
fact.
don't intend to stay on this for too long. So quickly, what do you think accounted for that, the apathy?
I think
what accounted
that
for it?
we will do a post-mortem, but off the cuff, if you look at the number of MPs we lost, clearly we must look at the parliamentary side. It's obvious because there were some places
You
where
lost how many, 49 or 50?
that's quite a huge number. I mean, some MPs, some MPs I thought shouldn't have lost, eventually lost. And the fact is that, look, in a community, and it's real, when the community decides that they are angry with a parliamentary candidate, and they say they wouldn't go and vote for the candidate, what they invariably do is that they don't also go to vote for the president. And it's obvious from just a cursory look at the figures.
The crowds that
The
you were
lo-
showcasing, huge crowds, where did they go?
Both parties showcased huge crowds.
No,
It's
the
not
NDC
just-
did
it's
better
just-
than
it's not
the
just
NDC did better.
So
The NPP
now we
didn't do
believe
too much of
the
the NPP didn't do too much of rallies.
They
And the
didn't.
final rally, you did a regional rally, which had the stadium full to capacity. And some reports actually has said that the people who were outside of the stadium were more than those in the stadium.
The MPP did a similar rally at the trade fair. And
That
the
was a national
crowd-
rally.
The crowd was so much. I
Yeah,
do
you
recall-
invited everybody to watch the two to compare.
I do recall that even during the launch of their manifesto, the MPP claimed that Nana Addo's vehicle couldn't move because of the crowd.
So the question is,
The
where,
MPP
where,
did a
where did the
similar
crowd
rally.
go? Why did they not vote?
The crowd that we had voted for us. But it's not all the crowd that you see in a stadium that will make you win. It's not all the crowd that you see at the Tamale Jubilee Park that will make you win. You win more from the hinterlands, and that is our track record. We win more from the villages. We win more from the rural communities. And so we will do an analysis. This is not the time to cry over spilled milk. But clearly, if you look at President Mahama's performance vis-a-vis that of his MPs, it tells you that based on the turnout, just based on the turnout, he did very, very well. If you look at just the turnout, if you look at absolute figures, you might draw some conclusions that would be wrong, because you ought to match apples with apples. And in that case, I believe in the concept of relativity, which means that you look at the turnout, and based on that turnout, you look at the figure President Mahama got and match it up. When you do that matching principle, President Mahama did very, very well.
You don't agree that the rejection at the polls is a clear endorsement of what the NPP was saying, that this was a government riddled with corruption, bad governance, and people are saying now, after you have lost, or even before, people are referring a lot to arrogance. Some say seared arrogance of the ministers and various other people. You were just too arrogant.
Well, I'm a test case. People can judge me whether I was arrogant or not. But you are also failing to look at one other side, and the fact that the NPP made a lot of promises. They promised to give all the youth employment. So if I'm sitting home and I don't have a job, and Mustafa says, look, when I come, I'm going to give you a job.
You made the same promises.
I'm saying that they made those promises. They've promised that they're going to scrap the energy sector levy, 10% of the total bill I pay. So if he says that, look, I'll scrap 10%, and President Mahama says, no, we have a challenge. We have to keep that 10% in order to deal with the challenge. And he says, no, I can't deal with the challenge despite removing the 10%. There's a temptation to tilt towards that. They will reintroduce trainee allowance, teacher allowance. They're going to take off the 17% import duty. They're going to build one factory in each district. They're going to build one dam in each village. I have 187 villages. I expect that in their 4 years, all the 187 villages will have these dams for irrigation. Certainly, they are very mouth-watering. And I listened to Nanado yesterday. He was categorical. I would live up to my promises. So it is obvious that based on those promises, there could be a tilt.
So you're saying what you said what you promised encountering the NPP was not effective?
That is a fact, and the results tells you.
Okay.
They believe that, look, the NPP is giving us fantastic mouth-watering promises.
Now,
so
Mustafa,
they have the opportunity
Mustafa,
now.
so in your case, the question is, what worked for you?
Well, you know, in any election anywhere in the world, there are a mix of factors that account for either wins or losses. And therefore, it will be very difficult in any one analysis for anybody to be able to categorically point to the factor or factors that are counted. There are a myriad of factors, but we can attempt some analysis. Fundamentally, let's be honest, obtaining a third-term victory anywhere in the world is a difficult matter. We said that about ourselves in 2008. 2008, you were the reporter from Joy FM in our car. We were confident we win, but we said this is going to be difficult because winning a third-term victory anywhere in the world is a difficult matter. When Donald Trump won in America, contrary to the general expectation, I put it on one of my old students, Old Tamaskan's platform. I said, winning a third-term victory anywhere in the world is difficult, and that must have accounted for Hillary Clinton. And then they were teasing, say, we know where this is going. We know where this is going, which means you are telling us NDC will have a difficult. But that's true. They were up against a wall. That's number one. Number two is that they were touting, whilst they were touting infrastructure development. That was, if you want, the frontal campaign, or even if you want, the crux of their campaign, that they've done a lot of infrastructure. President Mahama is like Nkrumah, or perhaps second to Nkrumah, or perhaps better than Nkrumah, whatever. But you see, in life, the basic necessities of life, food, clothing, shelter, are dearer to people than bringing Dubai to Circle. If you bring Dubai to Circle and somebody's in Hamili, and then every morning he would have to wonder how he's going to pay his electricity bill, how he's going to pay his water bill, how he's going to pay his children's school fees. He goes to the market, people are not buying his goods. The importer, the business people, they are facing exchange rate difficulties. They are unable to clear their goods at them. So these are everyday challenges that people face in their life. And these are the, you remember in 2000 we said, the acetinemu that people look at to tow aba has really very little to do with infrastructure, except if you link the infrastructure development, which is the argument that we're making to counter their infrastructure development argument. You know, we said in our manifesto something we call Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Program, basically IPEP if you want, that infrastructure has to be linked concretely to the alleviation of the poverty of the people. So I think that number one, their communication wasn't apt in that sense. They were running for a third term, even though they deluded themselves in thinking that Ghanaians believed that they were running for a second term, because that's what they kept communicating. Oh, President Mahama has just done 4 years. They were trying hard, and I understand, to discount the first 4 years of Mahama Mills and to say that everybody gets.
But that was factual.
8 years.
The president, John Mahama, had done 1 term.
Yeah.
He had finished the unexpired term of President Mills,
yeah, I understand.
6 months or so.
He had done 4 years.
Yeah, I'm saying that you were zeroing on President Mahama.
Yes.
What we were telling the people that it is
government.
parties.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, fine.
So we're saying that parties
problem.
had done. And fortunately for us, you saw our advertisement. We had a clip of President Mahama saying in 2012 that Abaimbia 8 years. Then 4 years, almost 8 years. And we said, okay, this is him. He says that every government does 8 years. Now today he's saying, no, it's not about government, it's about people. Now, again, our communication, I believe, was sharp, succinct, comprehensive, and straight to the point. I don't know where Nanado got that ingenuity from, but one village, one factory.
No, one district, one factory.
One district, one factory.
One village, one
in,
dam.
in the north, one village, one dam.
Yeah.
It's sharp, it's straight to the point, it's quantifiable, it is believable.
Free SHS.
The communication was sharp. We will revive national health insurance. We will make SHS truly free, and etc. etc. So I think that in terms of communicating the ideas, the unique selling points that will trigger people to want to gravitate towards you, we had a superior message. Now, no doubt also that Nanado was running his third term race. And frankly, there's a chunk of the population, I don't know how much, who naturally said, Wabre. I'm being honest with you, like they did with Mills. We went to places in 2008 and they said, and President Mills, he's done it 3 times. Please, let's allow him
My
to go.
candidate did that.
You get the point.
Fifth
Yes, but
time.
well, but it worked in the case of Nana. That's the point I'm making to you. So, and it worked in the case of Mills. So that one also was on the side of Akufo-Addo. Now, talking about the attacks, did you see any attack advert by the NDC, a dirty advertising by the NDC, saying that their candidate is, if you want, a thief, a this, engages in that? They were advertising on television, saying that our candidate is a cocaine sniffer, deals in cocaine, he stole Ghanaian diplomatic passports and handed them over to. These are blatant lies.
But they have said this for 8 years.
Yes, they were saying them on the streets and so on street corners as well
on TV.
But you put it on TV this time. That's what I'm saying. This time you did blatant advertising, and the conservative Ghanaian was nauseated by those attacks. Are you following? And they said, "What is this that they are doing? These people are not decent. They are not decorous, and therefore it is important that we gravitate towards the decent people." Now, the if you want, in your face advertising. When you wake up in your community, it is NDC in your face. You remember some day or 2 days running, they bought all space on all the media networks, and they were in our faces. If you didn't want the NDC like me, and you tuned to GH1, they will be there. Then you tune to Metro, and they will be there. You know. And I said long ago at some communication school class, and I said to them, sometimes when you do too much advertising, billboards and everything. People get nauseated, especially if you are the ruling government. You say, hey, why did they get all the money to do this? And you know, Nana spoke to it and said, you come at us with money, you come at us with resources, but we come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. So there was a certain sense in which if you want, too much advertising, you know, backfired.
I see.
And people just thought, no, this is too
interesting.
Yeah. And then, of course, as for the corruption, I mean, you know, I mean, they try hard to talk about what integrity initiative, international, whatever, transparency, blah, blah, blah. But the perception in the Ghanaian mentality is that, frankly speaking, this NDC government was opulently corrupt.
Where is that evidence?
And therefore, we needed to boot them out.
He's telling you the vote is the evidence.
Absolutely.
What the
I'm saying
perception.
that the vote, the evidence is the promises.
Now, Koko, I don't know, what do you think worked for the NPP and did not work for the NDC? And there are messages that are coming in. The issue I raised about the question of arrogance of power, there are so many of the messages that come in that suggest so. One message by Kweku says that the NDC, it says there are individuals in the NDC who have to take the blame for JM's defeats. Omane Boama, Koku Anyidoho, Kofi Adams, Kwache Ofosu, Ibrahim Mahama, their rudeness, arrogance, and disrespect hurt John Mahama. And also the president erred horribly with setting decisions, the Muntie 3, Guantanamo 2, among others. You think these are the things that really worked against the NDC?
I'm saying that and I'm actually so this are all
okay. Let's listen to Kweku. Yeah, but many people are saying it, so you should be listening.
I can understand. I mean, well, right. it happened to you, Mustafa, in 2008.
But are you listening? That's the thing.
Certainly.
Because when you play back equalization way, it means you are not listening.
So men that have won,
let's listen to Kweku now. Thank you.
Do the same thing.
Let's listen to Kweku now.
You know, I'm not sure whether I am entitled to make this disclosure. So I mean, a bit. There's a certain, a realm of indecision here. But it is a point that Mustafa made. He made a reference to that video or audio visual advert on the cocaine, passport, and all those things. You know, I hadn't seen it. This is, I'm not sure, but I have to do it. This is 3 weeks ago. In the evening, I had a call, and the call came from President John Mahama. It was around 10-something. I picked the call, then he said, oh, he wants to run by me with something. I said, what is it? He said, look, he had been watching Metro, and he had seen a certain documentary that had been done by his campaign team, as it were. He thought that was a vicious thing. He was asking me for my opinion, but he's been told when he asked that it is in a reaction to some documentary that the NPP had done, characterizing him as corrupt, so and so and so and so. But he's seen what his boys have done in terms of response, and he thought it was vicious. So what did I think about it? He wants to get them to get it off. Then I said, well, if you've seen the viciousness of it, I hadn't seen it. I hadn't also seen the MPP one, but I will try and monitor the two. But once he's taken a decision that this thing is bad, then it's bad. Self-inflicted. It's true. Mustafa is right. Look,
did you see the MPP one?
No, I didn't bother.
Okay.
Because he took a decision that that one, the NDC one, should go. I'm telling you, I've never said this anywhere. Only few friends know, but it's in private domain. But you see, if you recall, last week on Newsfile, we looked at the last Meet the Press encounter that the Minister of Communication did And you recall that I had issues with it.
Right.
It's in the same realm. Yes, those things about Akufo-Addo, drug dealer, Ghana, Coke Coast and all the rest, which are all lies, blatant lies, had been going on for a long time. People were not tired with them. It backfired. It was propaganda backlash. Some of their elders too, instead of focusing on issues, see, I won't mention his name, he's somebody I respect a lot. He went around, and this is all the attempt to target the personality of Akufo-Addo. So they went back to talk of aliens compliance order and claimed that Akufo-Addo's father signed it. That was factually not true. The aliens compliance order came 1969. Akufo-Addo's father became president, ceremonial president, August 31st, 1970. Yet a big man was out there throwing it. It was meant for the Zongo communities.
Is it the first time this has come up in the NDC's campaign?
No,
all right.
For a long time. But I'm saying that they didn't realize people were tired. And they repackaged these things, these lies, these fallacies. Institutionalize them, put them. This time, you know, ICT is now so improved. They thought it would have a greater impact. No, it was irritating people. It was annoying people. It was putting people off. To the extent that I'm saying their own leader, even in watching one of it, was so moved that he thought, stop it. He told them, if they are honest, they would admit that they were asked to take that thing off. Unfortunately,
What did we do?
Unfortunately,
We didn't do anything that was
when they took it off the screens, it was on social media all over. That they didn't stop. So it had a negative effect. You know, there are also mistakes that I say their own leaders made. For instance, even the president, when he came up with the redenomination matter, straight away.
The cost.
The cost. Disaster. You remember? We discussed it on this program. When the talk of media cabal came in, I said, hey, watch it. With all the green book, the things in the green book, they're persistent. Even when you ask them a question about what's your call, then they go and read the green book.
Oh.
Anytime, anything you ask them, the green book, the green book.
Me?
Am I wrong?
Me anytime ask me a question,
the least opportunity, you are discussing an issue of a certain nature, the green book. Everything appears to have been captured. All the answers to our challenges and problems were in the green book. Infrastructure this, infrastructure that. I always considered, anytime I was with them debating on air, I said, yeah, it's true. Because look, things that are visible and tangible, you don't deny. And very good projects have been done. Very, very important infrastructural development has taken place in this country under John Mahama. And they were overrating it and pushing. I said, hold on. Man shall not live by bread alone. Because it's a basket of issues that go into an election. People will be looking at transparency, accountability, integrity in terms of good governance.
Promises.
Look at, yes, the promises. Both sides made promises. Yeah. It's part of the promises I'm talking about. It's part of it. Who says Akufo-Addo's administration is not going to get hugely challenged relative to delivery of his promises? They will be.
They'll deliver.
Well, I have said it long ago that the one district, one factory thing would undergo some modification.
No.
I said so long ago. That's my view.
No way.
It will undergo.
He has said that will be driven by the private sector.
But that is in their manifesto. That itself is in their manifesto. So that was nothing new he had said. I was surprised people were trying to create the impression that what he told the BBC was a departure.
Right.
They had always said so, and it's in their manifesto. So you see, my brother, a lot of things. The NDC didn't package itself well in terms of its communication. They went for the personality of the main opposition leader and decided to assassinate his character. Not that the president was...
So the NPP didn't win because it did something extraordinary?
No, I was coming there exactly. You read my mind. Look, when I saw on your screens, the way the NPP set up even their coalition, the resource, the ICT, the architecture they put in place, then I said, my goodness,
Oh, but that's
Oh,
true.
that shows a party that was prepared. Look, oh, no, my brother, please. Look, I believe that was a byproduct of the election petition.
Yes, it was.
I believe so. And don't forget, the election petition also led to other reforms, which all the parties were involved.
Right.
That made the party decide when, obviously, they trained their party agents very well this time around. They gave them proper training and education as to what to do and what not to do. That setup showed, and that's why they came out that early. Of course, we can have problems with the fact that you were asking somebody to concede when you are not the regulatory body. That's fine. But I'm saying that that itself showed. See, the overemphasis about, oh, this is a disunited party, a divided party, a disorganized party. It became a central theme in the NDC's campaign, that this party, that's the MPP, is disunited, divided, disorganized. Some I believe it made them think that, oh, okay, this is not a house that can win any battle. But look at how they swept the parliamentary landscape. Was that a divided party? Was that a disorganized party? Was that a disunited party? So you see, the belief, there was a certain self-belief. The NDC imposed on themselves a certain belief that, look, we've won. I think an element of complacency may also have come in. Perhaps, yes, an element, because it was like, oh, this is a mismatch.
Within certain circles, what was being said was that they had already bought the elections. Because they were investing so much.
Yeah, okay, so put the bought in quotes, because I don't think they bought the election. They actually
the issues of incumbency abuse, and that was so open. He has mentioned all the other factors about taking command of the entire, nation's media landscape.
Yeah, but that is not peculiar to the NDC. In 2000, I have to write 2008, MPP did say.
Right.
So one has to be honest.
We'll get to elections 2020.
Yes. I mean,
you see how it will look like.
So to be honest with you, I think that this defeat, yes, two ways, largely self-inflicted. They got complacent. They go overconfident. And that's true. There was an element of arrogance, of power, the impunity, with some of, and I like the young guys in government, I have to be honest, any government, I like young people. But I think that the sharp teeth and the acidic tongues put together created a mess. Don't laugh, I mean it. Many of them are my friends. Yes.
Acidic tongues.
So those were part of the problems. And I think that they have let down their leader. But you see, Mr. Mahama, who I think is a good man, and I like. I have to be honest with you. I like him. I think he's a good person. He's an honest person. He's young. He may come back. He will be the best ticket for them 2020.
Really?
Oh, yes. He will be the best ticket. There's nobody there who can compete with him.
Already
unless
you are
he
mentioning
decides.
the names, the Spews,
My brother, if he decides to compete, there's nobody who can compete with him.
The Mahama do you think he will contemplate a return?
I think he should. He's young.
I can tell you for certain.
I think he
The
should.
president's prayer occupation now is to reorganize the party.
Yeah, but
That is
reorganizing the
main
party for what effect?
To ensure that
I think the challenge they are
party
going to have, NDC in
poised.
opposition must be watching out for Jerry Rawlings.
Okay.
He will be intruding. He will be intruding, thinking he wants
What
to
can you
see.
say? What can you say in a minute about what people say is the Baumia factor in the north?
Fantastic. Look, that gentleman, and I think that's one of the lasting legacies. You see, it is not just the
Zero
north.
in upper
No,
west
no,
to
no,
five
no,
seats.
no, not the seats. I'm talking of the figures, the presidential.
No, but he's
It's not
giving
the
you an
figure.
example.
Look, it's the
From
party.
0 to 5 seats.
Yes.
That's
10
Look,
to 14.
I don't
mean,
see your
that
You
will
see,
improve.
Abdullah,
Okay.
please.
Okay, he
Look,
wants to.
Let's take a typical
Allow him. I
a
don't
typical
know.
constituency. For
allow
instance, Laura. Why did we lose Laura? It's because two
of
candidates from the
independent.
NDC
Exactly.
Yes.
protested.
Yes.
So how does the Baumia
No,
factor
look,
come
I
in
am
Laura?
looking at the
doesn't come in.
attractiveness
Okay.
of the party. It's not too long ago when we were subjected to this whole drill of, oh, you are a party of 2 regions, you are a party of 1.5 regions. Obviously, this result shows that this is a party of a national character.
Okay.
I don't side with them when it comes to the ideology
Right.
anyway.
Okay.
But it's a party of a national character. And anybody who underestimates the impact that Bawumia has brought to bear on NPP as a party must be playing the ostrich.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Kwete, before I come to you, let me read a few of the messages that have come in. This one from Danny Kwejo Ampofo. He says that one reason the NDC lost was due to their disregard and sidelining of their former leader, Jerry Rawlings. And to tell you what, majority of the Rawlings followers did not show up to vote for the NDC. Okay, congratulations to the NPP. And then
they should watch out for him.
And then Kwame Sapong Esiedu says that what didn't work for the NDC was the public image. Some bad communicators had given the party. It even became apparent they had no respect for how the public felt about their behavior. When the scandals broke, they either did equalization or tried to play ignorant. The corruption was in our faces, but they were trying to tell us we were looking through tainted lenses. This disrespect of our intelligence is why they lost so hugely. Then Opong Kwame says, says, listening to you from New York, all the names you mentioned about the power, arrogance, and corruption was right. Okay, I was just mentioning what some people had brought forward. And then Fawade, who is that? Fawade is supposed to be a place. Okay, Bediako in Fawade says that, was it voter apathy or voter apathy? That is the immediate cause of Mahama's failure. In any of the options lies some apathy among NDC strongholds. Meanwhile, the reverse was a state in the MPP strongholds. So what is the cause of the apathy? Let NDC investigate their approach to leadership. Spike in Ohio says that I salute President-elect Akufo-Addo and incumbent President Mahama and the Ghanaian people for a fantastic election. Ghana has won. Well, some say they don't want to hear the word Ghana has won. Let's speak to the facts. Masaudu Muhammad says that the general election was largely peaceful, cordial, and creditable. Whilst Joy TV was busy collating results and educating the Ghanaian people, others were there tickling and exciting their supporters. Gorazo in Kent, UK says, I am sure we are all very happy to have the peace we all seek post-election. I must, however, say that I got immensely worried when Lady Charlotte came out to say there are suspected overvoting in several areas. Sorry, she didn't say that. It was the spokesperson, head of communication. When she came with her press conference, she didn't mention anything about the overvoting. And the NDC's allegation that there were 200 cases of overvoting in the Ashanti region was denied by the Ashanti Regional Electoral Head of Elections in Ashanti region itself.
Oh, really?
Yes, he said there were only 2 cases that have been presented to them.
Really?
Yes. Okay, so, Doc, what do you say? Why we have the results we have? And look at the huge fallout, the huge MPs that you feel that knew their job and have such an impact in Parliament have been kicked out.
Okay, I will touch on a few. I mean, many factors have been spoken about and maybe enumerated by my colleagues, but I think a few are strategic, and that's where I thought probably NDC did not read the picture well. You know, I think that the electorate thinks about terms of government, not presidents or parties. So 2 terms means you've been in government.
We're swimming against the tide.
Yes, 2 terms means you've been in government for 2 years. Whether it's an individual, they don't individualize, they look at that. But I think what was significant for me and I've maintained that Nana was in pole position after the Supreme Court verdict. The way he responded, okay, his language, and the immediate reaction, you found out that after he's accepted the verdict, he said he disagreed, but he respects it and accepts it. You could see a certain movement towards him to congratulate him and so on.
Yes.
And it seems to me that at that point, a larger number of voters decided that, look, he's crossed that line that consistently made him not cross into the presidency. I thought it was significant. I kept speaking about it to people that he emerged out of the election, the court verdict, as a national leader, much more than a partisan leader.
You're right.
And therefore, you were going to get some shifts in his favor, which I felt NDC completely ignored. And one of the things I found frustrating when I talked to friends in NDC, so on and so forth, and said, look, based on that gesture, there should be some meeting between the two, president and opposition, and so on. And I often heard that, and I think it's on both sides. When you are in the presidency, no, what I wanted the public one. Okay. I often heard from these communicators and people around that, no, it's like if they met in public or formal thing, it was either dignifying opposition leader. I also heard that also on the MPP side when they were in power. You see, when you are in power, you tend not to look at your potential rival. It's a potential head of state, head of government, and you're going to relate in some way. And so I saw all this, denial of the reality that you must address carefully. That became one. Two, so I wasn't surprised both shifted. In fact, I remember some international people and diplomats pressing, what do you think? What do you think? Who's going to? And I said, well, I don't do opinions and I don't do predictions, but I can tell you that there has been some shift in the swing voters among it will be middle class, it will be protest voters, but it will be also those who felt that, look, the man is not what he has been projected to be, because the negative advert about him and so on, and his behavior after the verdict, or even going to God, people saw the contrast. Ghanaian voters are, yes, Ghanaian voters are, you see, you'll be playing the equalization so much, but I think that it is also important to see those factors that brings our leaders up and the voters shift to them. I also feel that, money, a lot of money does not win elections. I felt NDC was doing what MPP did. NDC was doing what NDC was doing in 2016, what MPP did in 2008. You see, your equalization strategies do not allow you to learn from the flaws and the follies of the politics you're doing. Okay, and I think that cost you. I mean, you spend so much at the time that people were also talking about corruption. Corruption has been the source of coups in Ghana, and corruption has been the source of losing election. In 2008, I picked out from the people, electorate, and I like the people who give the correct temperature and the swing in the public are taxi drivers and trotro drivers. Talk to them. I go to trotro stations or take taxis sometimes just to listen to the analysts. They are very sharp. They are better than all the polls, okay? And I think that the corruption thing in 2008, what I picked up, people felt the MPP had become, in government, had become very corrupt and thought that the NDC, because of its revolutionary past and whatever it was less corrupt. And one of the attraction of Professor Mills then was the attraction there. And it's one of the things he addressed. First of all, now, look at what your own founder came to realization in 2012. He said, first he said you have become equally corrupt. In 2012. In 2012, yeah. Yes, in Cuba. And then by 2016, you had become more corrupt.
but you see, Doc.
Wait, I'm coming. And I felt that you were not addressing the issue of corruption. You see, I read your strategy to mean what you were portraying that you have done, okay, would overshadow what people really felt about, and consistently in our history has been the reasons for a change of government. Corruption. It's enough. Listen to the army when they come. The first thing is corruption. Listen to when parties lose. They say, oh, corruption, and so on. So I felt that you were not addressing that. You were not addressing the accountability issues and so on. The third point where I felt that, and the lesson there was that probably less money, people are getting fed up with this monetization, you know, and which is itself part of the definition of the corruption. This is a potentially rich country, but in reality, poor, not having enough resources to improve public service delivery, as people want it in all areas. And then when it comes to campaign, you splash. Where's the money coming from? How do we account for it? How do we need to get into this, and the public is really concerned. So I think to play money as that which secures, I think you proved that to be wrong in 2008. MPP has proven it's wrong in 2016. Will that lead us to the two of you towards 2020 doing better? Or I hope a framework for regulation will be put in place for this. Now, the other point that I feel strongly that you seem to have ignored, and which really cost you the election, is that I think that, I've forgotten, the ethno-regional. I thought that, yes, it's true that in our politics we are divided. We mobilize around ethnicity, region, and so on, because it's elections, it's competition. And what election does is that it legitimizes what we call the mobilization of bias, your differences, because you can't say we are all nice guys. Who would vote for you if you you have to articulate difference sharply. But I thought that, you know, when things got heated up and the ethno-regional factor came up so strongly, the public resented. Okay, it was, they condemned it all around, this northern thing, the articles that came. And you remember that earlier, the attempt to also use religion.
But the MPP played that.
Yes, by Babu Mia itself was not tolerated. Then you saw what Jifa Ativo's thing, and how even people in your own group, you know, said, no, this is not. So emphasizing it at that crucial phase, it was like you were piling up those things that I felt.
What do you mean by Jifa Ativo's thing?
You know, remember this claim that if Nana came to power, the people in the Volta region would be...
She was not alone. There were others who also mounted the campaign platform and said that if the MPP was voted for, they would be jailed.
Yes, but for me, that's what I'm referring to. Okay. Yeah. So, no, I'm on the floor. This time you seek permission.
Let's try and finish with you quickly so we can go for our next break and come to the ultimate, the concession and the victory speeches.
Yes. My final...
okay, let's hear him briefly. Yes.
I was doing some calc. You see, the 10-year-olds, 2008, 11, 12, 13, and probably 14-year-olds, that youth bracket, in 2016 qualified to vote. And so, if you look at it, it meant that a chunk of the youth would have gravitated or graduated to have the opportunity to vote. And that's why when I was looking at the voter population, we talked about 1.5 million new voters coming on the list.
Yes.
So the youth factor is also a critical area that probably all of us ought to be concentrating on.
Talking about youth, and some of your youth, they are sending in messages. NDC youth, Osman says that we lost because our appointees and the party in general neglected us. The grassroots was abandoned. They will come back to us for reorganization. We only become useful to them when they seek power. Time will tell. And then Prince, who says he says, I am NDC and remained so. But truth be told, this election was resoundingly lost based on factors such as greed, self-seeking arrogance by appointees and regional and national executives, huge unemployment, and above all, the teachers' allowances, nursing training allowances, and many other. Indeed, selfishness and neglect of the party's grassroots and sheer refusal to listen to minority party members, neglect of critical aspects of the economy, among other things. So these are party members who are giving complaints about their situation.
Okay,
so you end on your last point here.
I think that over-attribution was also In fact, the youth you brought in simply means that the negative messaging you were putting across did not appeal to this youth. They had substantive issues they wanted you to address. Now, where I see over-attribution is, you know, everything the government had done became NDC. It's NDC. But when you're elected into government, you're a national. The president is a national president and so on. So it became difficult to differentiate between what taxpayers' money have been used not that you made the over-attribution. Everything. Well, I'm not even looking at the two of you. I'm looking at what I saw. The over-attribution. Everything is party. But you know that there have been moments.
The green book.
Yes, there have been moments. There have been moments. Hello. There have been moments where Ghanaians have liked the idea, and I think MPP did that once when they were in government. There was a time that if you attend national events, you don't see the flags of parties. But this time it got lost.
Oh, we do that.
You did it sometimes, but when the campaign intensified,
when it intensifies, you'll come with party.
please, there has to be certain lines regulated.
Okay.
Party politics mustn't take all the space. Then the final point, the economy. Okay, the economy. And I didn't see, yes, you were going to do more projects, but this was in a situation where debts, the domestic debt, the foreign, were really worrying everybody. And you were going to do so many.
Baumia factor comes in there.
Okay.
Okay,
thank you. Thank you very much. And Kofi Ajiman says NDC parliamentary candidates failed Mahama, not JJ Rawlings. That's his view of why the president didn't make it. You know, even what's the name? Jacob Osei-Yeboah was campaigning on the issue of what he said, an era where young people, particularly in government, were showing disrespect to elderly people.
Yes.
That you criticize the government, the things that are being done in government, and you are targeted and insulted rather than replied on the issues that you are criticizing people about.
In this political dispensation, people simply endorse government, and the opposition young people equally criticize them. So I agree with you. All these are factors that we would retreat, consider them, do a thorough analysis of the issues.
Okay.
All the issues you've raised,
And from
including what our team and supporters are raising. We will reflect on them, and as a party, we'll develop a strategy towards that.
In fact, the point is that one other slogan you were using, particularly on social media, is that when someone criticizes a policy or something that has happened in government, then you get the thing, they say, hate will not win. You are hating. I'm a taxpayer, and I'm a citizen of the country. If I'm criticizing the government about how my money is being used or how the governance is going on, should I be termed as someone who hates and that hate will not win? And then you term the media regime changes and all of those things.
But you see, Mr. Abdul Malik just made a point, and for me that is phenomenal, that the president watched an advert, was concerned, and did something about it. So yes, you could have all these issues. Now that you have lost, all kinds of attributions, all kinds of blame games. And
So
I'm sure
people should have lived to the character of the president.
Yesterday, when I went to the president's house, we heard what some of the supporters said. No candidate who lost the elections should step. And I said, it's not just.
The point that I think you should take seriously, and not all kinds of things. You see, the question is, the campaign team, and the young people or more youthful who reflect the character and image of the president.
Thank you very much.
But you equally made a point
that
look, in the third term of a government, it's not easy.
Okay, now
it's a difficult one.
I'm also being informed now that actually Nanado's lawyers wrote to Metropolitan Television to complain about that particular advertisement, but nothing was done about it. From Obeng Amunti in Achim Akroso, he says, to win an election, you need strategic thinkers who will carry your policies to the doorsteps of the electorate. This is exactly what MPP did, and they won. Good work done to Nana Addo and his competent team. Benjamin Osei Jamra says, we must all be proud of ourselves for such credible and transparent elections. Once again, Ghana has demonstrated that indeed we are matured in our democratic expressions. I wish the President-elect Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo all the best of luck, and I also wish His Excellency the President, Mahama, I wish him well for his boldness in accepting defeat so we can all move on. I am very proud to be a Ghanaian, and I can confidently walk on the streets of Edinburgh, bold-chested that my country has done it again. God bless Ghana. Musa Abator in Kumasi says, if you are going for a final football match, expect only 2 results, win or lose. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, you are a good leader. I am deeply glad to serve you. You will forever be my hero. Congratulations to the President-elect Nana Akufo-Addo and your team. Idris Odum in Bojuase, I'm very happy for the first time in 8 years, my senior brother Hamid Mustafa is commending the Electoral Commission. Amazing. However, multimedia, Joy News, Joy FM, you are a world-class media organization. I was amazed to know you have been using drones to take shots from the sky. Yes, we did. Yes, we sent drones out there to take photographs, and we used video coverage. Kofiata in Cambridge says that the good side is that Ghana has made all of us proud by peaceful, transparent, and credible elections. The downside is that MPP's declaration was too early, and President Mahama's concession came too late. Ata Imoro, I'll read yours finally. Ata Imoro in Wellensi says, I'm extremely happy to be a part of the team that worked to ensure this historic victory for our party. Thanks to Allah and those who supported us, Ghana has won. We will take a quick break, and then when we return, we will hear from Nanado, President-elect, and then we'll hear from the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We'll be right back.
Is it live?
No.